I've worked at the Mail Recovery Center for 14 years. People call it the dead letter office, like a cemetery for envelopes. To me, it's a hospital. We try to save what we can. Most days are boring, ripped Amazon returns, birthday cards with no address, boxes that rattle like regret. You open, read just enough to find a home, and send it on. You never read for story. That's the rule. The blue envelope broke the rule by breathing. Thick, hand addressed to Ms. Loretta Jean Parker, CEO, wherever you are brave enough to be. No return address. Inside was a letter and a small velvet box. The letter began, Loretta, write it all this time. Same handwriting on both names. My mother's handwriting. I almost dropped it. My mother, Loretta, died in 2009. She worked nights at a diner, kept a tidy porch, and never left Georgia except once for a bus trip to Biloxi with church ladies. The envelope was postmarked May 8th, 2008, 1 year before she passed. I took a break I wasn't scheduled for and sat in my old sedan in the parking lot. The letter shook in my hands like a small animal. Loretta, or whoever opens this if you keep being a coward. You owe your daughter a story, not chores and good grades. In 1969, you had a baby boy in New Orleans. You were 19 and alone. You named him August because it was so hot. You thought the air might catch fire. The nurse said you were doing a brave thing placing him with a nice couple. You have repeated that sentence for 40 years, like a prayer and a punishment. You told yourself you would find him when he turned 18, then when he turned 21, then when your daughter was grown, because you didn't want to share your shame. You watched every August with a held breath, and never once wrote the letter that would let you breathe. This is me writing it. If this envelope comes back to you, if your fear is stronger than your pen, then at least put the truth where someone you love can find it. His adoptive name is Michael Carver. The agency said he moved to Mobile, Alabama. The ring in the box is your mother's. It should have been his if you'd kept him. If you die before you send this, maybe your daughter will finish the job you couldn't. Loretta, who is tired of being afraid. The ring in the velvet box was familiar. Thin gold, a blue stone, the color of sky after rain. Mom wore it to every graduation and funeral. She'd say, "A lady deserves one nice thing. Don't ask where I got it." I never did. I walked back inside, numb, filed the envelope as personal property, and clocked out early. At home, I pulled Mom's shoebox of papers from the closet. Birth certificates, report cards, a Polaroid of her in a red dress I'd never seen. Tucked behind the photo, a business card for Gulf Coast Family Services, New Orleans, and a faded note. Boy, August 28th, 69 Michael. I typed Michael Carver, Mobile, Alabama, and got a man my age, 55, owner of a boat repair shop. The website showed him grinning under a cap, sea salt beard, a golden retriever next to him. I reached for the phone and pulled my hand back like it found a hot stove. What right did I have to drop a story like this on a stranger's dock? The next morning, I spoke to my supervisor. I told him the truth. He stared, then said, "Go." Some letters are heavier than the rest. He signed my PTO slip without looking down. I drove to Mobile with the ring in my pocket and my mother's voice in my head. Write it all this time. The shop sat by a slip where pelicans dozed on pilings. Michael stood at a workbench, sanding a wooden hull. Sawdust laid on his arms like pollen. "Can I help you?" he asked, wiping his hands. "Maybe," I said. "I work at the dead letter office. I'm here about a letter that never made it." We sat on overturned buckets under a fan. I told him my mother's name. I told him August, an adoption, in 1969. He didn't speak. He looked at the ring in my palm and closed his eyes. My folks always said I was a gift when they couldn't have their own, he said. I never wanted to make it feel like they weren't enough. But every August, my bones rattled. I thought it was hurricanes. He laughed, short and wet. I guess it was me. I handed him the ring. He held it like something breakable and strong. Do you have kids? I asked. Oh, two, he said. A son named Aaron and a daughter named Laura. Short for Loretta. I didn't know why that name felt right. Guess I do now. We talked until the fan couldn't push the heat around anymore. He showed me a photo album. A skinny boy on a bike, a graduation cap crooked on a big grin, a wedding under moss-draped oaks. He asked about my mother, her laugh, her casseroles, whether she could whistle. She could, 2 fingers, and a train would stop. What do you want this to be? I finally asked. He looked at the water, then at me. A story we admit happened, and if you'll have me, a brother who shows up at Thanksgiving with too much green bean casserole. We drove to New Orleans that weekend and stood outside the old agency, now condos. We said the names we knew: Loretta, August, Michael. We left the ring on the riverbank for a minute, let the Mississippi hold it and give it back. Then we took it home. In Atlanta, I put in for a different shift, earlier so I'm home by supper. The dead letter office still hums. I still open what can't be delivered, but sometimes, when an envelope breathes, I listen for my mother's voice. Write it all this time. I try. Second full story, I buy storage units the way some people buy lottery tickets. Hopeful, superstitious, occasionally lucky. The unit at mile marker 12 looked like trouble, and a story, a steel trunk, a stack of framed certificates, a folded flag in a triangle case. The auctioneer barked numbers like cattle counts, and before coffee hit my veins, I bought a lifetime for $240. I waited till the heat sank below angry. Then I opened the trunk. Inside, a bundle of letters. A Polaroid of 2 young men in the same face, identical twins, leaning on a pickup, and 2 sets of dog tags resting together like wedding rings. Both read Rivera. One said Daniel, the other David. The letters told the rest. David enlisted in 1968, shipped to Vietnam. Daniel stayed home, married Nina, kept the ranch limping. In 1970, a telegram cut the air. PFC David Rivera, missing in action. A month later, word came unofficial, presumed dead. The family held a service with an empty casket and a folded flag. Then came a letter from David, postmarked a year later from a hospital in California. He was alive, scarred, and changed. He wrote, "I don't know how to be back. Everything is loud. I can't sleep. I can't look Nina in the eye because she deserved better than an empty uniform." Next letter, 1972, was short and sharp. "I'm leaving. It's better if one of us is a ghost." After that, the handwriting changed. Daniel wrote about keeping the ranch, about Nina's patience, about a baby boy named Marco. He also wrote about a promise he made to his brother at a muddy bus stop. "If the war takes your name, I'll wear it till it fits." I didn't understand until I reached the envelope marked 1978, courthouse. Inside was a copy of a legal document, Daniel Rivera petitioning to amend military records and certain financial benefits in the name of David Rivera, notarized denied. A letter from the VA followed. Without proof of identity, benefits cannot be transferred. Attached was a note in Daniel's hand. "We don't want money. We want his life to count for more than a folded flag." The last item in the trunk was a videotape labeled VFW, 1999. I took it to the VFW hall in town. The bartender, a woman with a crew cut and kind eyes, squinted at the label and said, Rivera's? I poured for those boys. You found their box? She popped the tape into an old combo TV like a magician. Grainy footage filled the screen, a hall full of hats and stories. Daniel, older now, thick mustache, stepped to the podium. The folded flag sat beside him. He placed both sets of dog tags on the wood. My brother David came home from Vietnam in pieces, he said. The uniform came off. The war didn't. He asked me to wear his name where it mattered, because some doors only open for the man the government recognizes. I tried. The government didn't. He died in 1975 on a road nobody names. His voice roughened. Since then, I have lived like a two-man team. My wife, Nina, raised our son while I carried two memories, the boy who left and the man who returned. Tonight I'm laying the name down. Both of them. I'm going back to being Daniel. The flag is for David. And the ranch, such as it is for Marco, who will not have to wear anyone's name but his own. The room on the tape stood and saluted. The bartender wiped her eyes. Daniel passed last year, she said. Nina moved to El Paso to be near their boy. Storage unit must have fallen behind. Happens when people run out of road. Marco still around? I asked. Fixes air conditioners, she said, tapping a magnet on a bulletin board. Marco Rivera, HVIC, a phone number. He met me outside a rental house with a sunburnt lawn and a kind of patience in his shoulders. He looked like both men on the Polaroid and like himself besides. I told him what I had found. He listened the way Texans do, without moving much, but everything in them leaning forward. Daddy talked about Uncle David like a wind that comes through a fence and keeps going, he said. He wore guilt like a work shirt. Mama said he couldn't save his brother, but he could carry him. And sometimes that's the same thing. I handed him the trunk. He took the weight and nodded. A ritual completed. What do you want to do with the unit? I asked. He smiled. You keep the furniture. I'll take the ghosts. At the VFW the next Friday, they played the tape on the small TV in the corner. A dozen men and two women raised their bottles when Daniel put the tags on the podium. Someone said, to both of them. We drank to both. On my way out, the bartender slipped me a folded note. Inside, thank you for returning what we lost twice. Beneath it, a smaller line. Some names are meant to be shared until they can rest.